Hello everyone, my name's Natalie and I'm going to talk to you today about mindful leadership in tech. So before we start, is anyone managing people? Anyone here? Okay, so quite a few. Amazing. So I'm the co-founder and the Wellbeing coach at TLDR, and in a moment I'm going to tell you a bit more about what that means. But before this, I was a front-end developer for 4 years, and I worked mainly with React and various different companies, various different projects and clients. And one of the things that I noticed was that a lot of people struggled with their soft skills. They were brilliant technically, much better than me, but soft skills were a challenge for people. And it's something that I'm really passionate about, and that's why I became a coach. And I wanted to bring it to the workplace. So in my previous company, I did do some talks on topics to do with soft skills, and that led me to create TLDR. So what is TLDR? Does anyone know the term? Yeah. Too long didn't read, exactly. So why did we call the company this? Because what we do is we actually take personal growth books and we transform them into workshops. So you don't have to read the book, we read it, and we take all of the key insights, the main points, and we create a workshop of kind of actionable points for you. And the idea is that you connect with your team, you learn soft skills, and it helps you to grow. And this is my co-founder, Bianca. So yeah, we've just been starting that for just over a year now. So today, we're going to talk about mindful leadership. But before we do, let's explore how much of an impact managers have on their employees. So here's a few statistics. 50% of employees say they left their previous job to get away from their manager. So it wasn't the project, it wasn't the client, it wasn't the salary, it was simply the manager. So it's quite a high percentage, I would say. 66% of employees say they would likely leave their job if they didn't feel appreciated. So this shows us that we have a real need to feel valued, to feel recognized in the workplace, and it's really important to us. And if we don't, we're probably going to leave. And finally, the manager accounts for at least 70% of the variance in employee engagement. So that's in terms of how committed the employee is to the project, to the work that they're doing. The manager influences that by 70%. So again, quite a lot of an impact already. And there's the sources for those. So how is this problem happening? Why is this happening in tech? Not just in tech, in all companies. One of the reasons is there's actually two main reasons that people often get promoted to management. Firstly, they were successful in a previous non-managerial role, so perhaps they were a developer, and they've been in the company for a long time. Usually it's a combination of the two, and that in itself is not necessarily a problem. However, it doesn't mean that the right candidate is actually chosen for the job. It just means that the circumstances lead them to be in a manager's role. And actually, apparently companies fail to choose the managerial candidate with the right talent for the job 82% of the time. So it's quite a high percentage. And not only that, but actually new managers, 75% of them, admitted to feeling unprepared for their new role. Because as you probably know, if you've ever gone from developer to manager, it's a completely different role. So of course, they're not going to feel prepared. And there's the sources. So how can managers improve their leadership? If they're in this position, what can they do to improve their leadership? If there's no training, can they do something themselves to know if they can improve what they're already doing, how they're leading the team? Well, it sounds simple, but the key is actually to develop self-awareness and practice mindful leadership. And how does this help? Well, it seems that there's a disconnect between managers and employees. So a few more statistics for you here. 85% of managers say they're transparent with their direct reports, but 55% of employees feel their manager is transparent with them. Likewise, 71% of managers say they know how to motivate their team, but only 44% of employees say that their manager can motivate them. So we have a disconnect. Managers think they're doing okay, employees don't think they're doing so great. So how can we bridge that gap? And the key is mindfulness. This is a tool that you can use, anyone can use at any time, in any situation, to build self-awareness. And there's 5 key components that I wanted to share today. The first one is observation. So mindfulness in general is all about slowing down and taking stock of where you are right now. Observation is about observing your thoughts, your emotions, your sensations, without becoming overly attached to any of them. So, we have thousands of thoughts every single day, but we've got to learn not to attach to every single one and buy into it. Because if we do, that can make us spiral in a whole different path. So if we can just observe what's happening, that's a practice of mindfulness. Secondly, non-judgmental awareness. So when we do feel something, if we feel angry, we feel disappointed, just an acceptance of it. Not a resistance, just accepting, okay, this is how I'm feeling today. There it is. Present moment focus. So this is probably the main thing about mindfulness that we often hear, is just anchoring attention to the current moment. So really just thinking about what's happening right now. Because when we can do that, we're not thinking about the past or the future, and we can be present to so much more that's in the moment, which if we are thinking about so many other things, we can't be present to those things. Fourthly, non-reactivity. So responding in a calm and measured way. Again, this is not always easy, obviously. Some things make us angry, some things make us frustrated, and our natural response might just be to respond. But if we can actually center ourselves and respond in a measured way, it's going to really help us in a lot of situations, which I'll share with you in a moment. And lastly, equanimity. So this is just being able to maintain balance and composure in the face of challenges. So whatever's thrown at us, perhaps on the surface we're wobbled a little bit, but deep down we have a grounded center. So how can this help us in leadership in tech? How are the two related? Because mindfulness and tech can be seen as very different. Tech's a very fast-paced environment, and perhaps we can't see how we can actually make this work. So I wanted you to consider this scenario, which I'm sure that you're all familiar with. So you're working on a project, and the team comes up against a technical roadblock. It could be anything. It could be the client doesn't think that the performance is good enough, or there's a problem with data migration. Whatever it is, there's a technical roadblock. The mindless approach to this would be that the leader reacts immediately with frustration or impatience, which of course is a natural emotion. But then they pressure the team to find a quick solution because they're in a state of panic. They're in a state of, okay, the client needs this now, what are we going to do? And they put that onto the team immediately. The effect of that is a stressful work environment. I'm sure many of you have experienced it. There's no room for creative problem solving. There's no time to actually think about, is this the best solution? Is the first solution that we come up with going to be the best one? There's just no room to think about anything else. And usually, we overlook more effective solutions. So what would be the mindful approach? The leader remains calm and focused, using mindfulness practices to help center them. So their initial reaction may be, okay, this is not good. But if they just take a few moments to center themselves before responding, they're going to promote a collaborative, a non-judgmental atmosphere and encourage the team to explore creative solutions, which will lead to the consideration of various perspectives. It allows for more people to put their ideas into the mix rather than perhaps the first person to come up with something. There's space for innovation, there's time. People, when you're in a relaxed environment, it breeds creativity. So if you're able to stay calm, you're going to lead to more creative solutions. That positive work environment is maintained. There's no kind of ups and downs of, oh my God, this thing's happened, what do we do now? It's a calmer work environment that allows it to stay positive. And actually this brings the team closer, which is a really key point, because when we go through a challenge that doesn't feel stressful, but it feels like an achievement, it really brings us together. So challenges are not necessarily bad. If something is going wrong, it's not bad for the team, but it's how you respond to it that matters. So the mindful approach considers the human aspect of our daily tasks and interactions. It allows for greater connection, collaboration, and understanding. And just to explain a little bit more, if we're able to detach from our worries, doubts, and fears about the future or past, it allows us to be more focused, listen deeply, and understand non-verbal cues from others. There's so much going on in a conversation that we can miss if we're preoccupied by other thoughts. So when we're able to tune in to what's happening right in front of us, we can actually see so much more. And what that leads to is a practice of empathy, fostering collaboration, expressing ourselves effectively, navigating uncertainty, handling complexity, embracing change, because change can sometimes shake us. So if we're able to stay centered in that, we can handle it. Taking valuable insights from mistakes and feedback instead of reacting and responding to criticism, we're able to look at that in a different way and think, okay, how can this actually help me? How can I learn from this? And we can make considered decisions because we're taking the time. And be open to ideas and solutions without judgment. But we can't do this effectively in a state of reactivity. If we're just reacting to everything that's going on around us, there's so much in our external world that affects us. We need to be able to tune into our internal world and center ourselves first. And how can that impact the team? Well, I really love this quote from a book that I'm going to share with you in a moment. Leaders set the tone for the whole team or organization. So when they are calm, confident, open, and relaxed, the team is more likely to feel the same. Likewise, when they're stressed, fearful, and closed, it breeds the same emotions among team members. And that's so important because when you're a leader, whether you realize it or not, people look to you for how to respond to something. So if you're calm when something's going wrong, they'll be calm. If you're not, they're going to panic a little bit too because you're the one in charge. So it's really important to remember that, and they do have quite a big impact. And this is from The Mindful Leader, which is a fantastic book if anyone wants to read that. 7 practices for transforming your leadership, your organization, and your life. I'm just going to share with you those 7. Be present, take accountability, lead from mindful values, inspire a mindful vision, cultivate beginner's mindset, empower others to shine, and nourish others with love. So the book goes into detail about each one of these. There's a whole chapter on each of them. But of course, we don't have time to go into all of them today, but we have actually created a ebook which summarizes each of the chapters. So too long didn't read. So if you want to download that, that's there, and you'll have all of that. It's also at the end of our PowerPoint. But before we finish, I wanted to leave you with 3 scenarios to practice being a more mindful leader or employee. Whichever you are, it's going to be able to be applicable. So during meetings, it's a really great time to practice it, believe it or not. Have a go at making a conscious effort to practice active listening. So what we mean by active listening is not, first of all, not interrupting someone when they speak, which can be very tempting. Especially if you have an idea and you're like, oh, but what about this? Try and let people finish. Let people talk through their idea. Put away distractions. Maintain eye contact, even if it's virtually. And genuinely focus on what others are saying. And avoid formulating responses while someone is speaking. So if you have ever done this practice before, you'll notice that when someone is speaking, you're immediately thinking what you're going to reply with. And we just do that naturally. But if we can manage not to do that, we're actually so much more present and attentive to what they're saying, and we may discover and learn things that we wouldn't have otherwise because we're already thinking about the next thing. And fully absorb and comprehend their message. So this is a practice that can be done time and time again in various situations. It can be done in group meetings, on one-on-ones, any situation, even in your personal life as well. But it's a really effective practice. Number 2, when giving difficult feedback, so if at any point you have to do that, I recommend that before you have to do that, again, you center yourself. Try and set a positive intention for the conversation and become aware of your emotions. That might seem like a simple thing, but allowing yourself to just think about the other person in a positive way, sending love to them. I know it sounds maybe a bit strange, but just you're going to go into that conversation with a much better mindset, and they're going to feel that energy from you as well. During the conversation, pay attention to your tone, your body language, your choice of words. Make sure it's kind, compassionate. I know it's kind of sometimes scary giving feedback that's negative as well, but if it's done in the right way, they're going to receive it well, hopefully. And be present and responsive to the other person's cues. So be attentive, listen to them. What's their body language telling you? How are they feeling? And after the conversation, reflect on it with kindness to yourself, without self-judgment, because we can often look back on things and think, oh my God, I wish I'd not said that or done that, I should have done this differently, and we berate ourselves for something. But look at it as an experience, a learning experience, and see what you could have done better. And finally, even in code reviews, we can practice mindfulness, believe it or not. Before you go into a code review, clear your mind of distractions and preconceived notions. Perhaps you've reviewed this person's code before and you're like, oh God, I hope they don't make this mistake again. They've left another console log or something in there. Try and focus on understanding their perspective. So, why might they have written it that way? Why might they have, not done it in the best way possible? Or is it something that they're missing that they don't know yet? What challenges might they have faced? Could you support their learning from this process? I've had experiences where people have commented on my code and just put no. It's like, okay, thank you. Not sure what to do with that, but yeah. Then I've had other experiences where people have put constructive feedback, which has really helped, and together we can actually collaborate on a new solution for it. So providing constructive feedback is also really important, as you all know, and the tone really matters. I think that's the key thing here. Tone is important. So if you can be mindful of that, it's really going to help you, but also the people that you are reviewing. So to summarize, leaders have a huge impact on those that they manage. Practicing mindfulness in leadership can not only help you as an individual, because it all starts with you. It's all about helping you focus yourself, but it can bring greater results for your team. And mindfulness takes practice, but it can be applied in almost any situation, both inside and outside of work. And applying it will help you to lead a more calm, measured life with the capacity to make better decisions, build stronger relationships, and handle change effectively. So again, here is the free ebook in case anyone missed that before. But that's the end. And if anyone has any questions, please let me know. No?
Here you have a question.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'm just curious about how your company actually works. So you, obviously, all of these are very sensible, nice thoughts. And, it's a nice point B where any manager would like to get to. Mm-hmm. Do you provide, on top of that, do you provide some kind of practices, some kind of process, checkups? I don't know how actually a person can get to that point, or you just inform and provide the structural knowledge about all of these things.
Good question. Okay, so the question was what kind of framework we provide for this, if it's just the theory, or if we can we actually provide more training itself. Yes, we do. So there's two parts to what we do. The first is the educational part. It's actually showing you any new concept which you might not know. And the second is actually guiding you through that, and we provide coaching as well. So we have one-on-one sessions to see how that's going. We provide a kind of like a roadmap, you might say, to get to that point. Because of course we know that's the ideal, but putting it into practice is always the hardest part. So yeah. Thank you for the question. Yeah.
Also, in my experience, there are a couple of skills that successful managers have. that you didn't mention and wanted to ask you if they could fit in that perspective.
Sure.
Like, I think all of them had a great sense of humor.
Uh-huh.
They were joking on the daily basis and quite a lot.
Yeah.
And also they try to engage people to play around with things, like not treating our stuff with like something, oh, we're saving the world, we are doing something super important, you know, like we know all companies say that, it's what they have to say, and it makes sense. But somehow those managers kind of let us, okay, let's take that new concept, take that new technology, let's play a little bit around, let's use it, let's break things.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Does it match at some point with your method, mindfulness?
Which part, the humor or the
Both,
playing around?
because
Okay.
It's all about having fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so the question was about if humor and playing around with different things can really match with mindfulness. I mean, absolutely. Mindfulness is just it's about being present, but you know, it's about connecting to your team. So of course, through humor, through whatever it is that connects you, it's going to help. So if you notice, some people also, everyone's different. So some people are going to need humor to get through the day, whereas other people don't. So yeah, it's all about being in tune with what your team needs and how you can connect to them. So the two definitely do. But it's a really good point because yes, some of the most successful leaders use humor daily. It's just part of their personality. So yeah, thank you for the question. Oh.
You talked about when the situation comes in and you're giving feedback and
Yeah.
mindfulness. Say you're helping, well, you think that you're helping, but it's kind of rough news. Do you have any suggestions after you give that particular bad news about like a follow-up or a check-in maybe a day or two later, or is that?
Yeah, good question. So it was about if after you've given tough feedback, like what's the next step, basically. Again, it really depends on the person that you're managing. I think I would ask them, like, what do you need from me going forward? Is there any way I can help you further? Because they need to know that you're supporting them. You're not just delivering this news and leaving it to them. Like, you're there to constructively help, like give them constructive feedback to help them. So if they need a check-in a couple of days later once they've absorbed the information, because sometimes it can be a bit of a shock, like you said, like it's like, oh, okay, I didn't expect that. I'd say, yeah, check in with them, ask them what they need, but make sure you check in again and say, like, how do you feel about this now? Have you thought about any way you might want to talk about improving it, and work with them. Just make sure they feel it's collaborative. I think that's the most important thing. Yeah. Hope that helps.
Thank you for your speech. I got calm after it.
Excellent.
So, maybe can you give us an advice how should we deal with situations when managers are not able to solve the conflicts in the collective or in the team? For instance, a few times I've faced a situation when my really well explained suggestions in the code reviews was boycotted.
Okay.
So, and I reached out to my manager like, hey, we have this kind of issue, and he proposed something like, oh, let's do pairing programming or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think it is not solving the problem, the source of problem, and what should we do in cases like that?
Okay, so in terms of giving feedback from an employee to a manager, basically, the other way, right?
No. So
or between peers.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm giving them feedback about in code review stage,
Yeah.
for instance, right? And they can merge pull requests even without resolving conversations,
Yeah.
which is really painful, and I asked my manager, like, hey, how can we solve that situation, because it leads to kind of conflicts or
Yep.
I don't know, misunderstanding within the team. So and I try to be collaborative and so on, but it doesn't help me to be that person.
Yeah, yeah, I completely understand. I think that in those situations, the first thing is, yeah, like I think you said, to talk with them directly, I guess. That's the first method, to kind of help them understand your point of view. If that's not working, like you said, go to your manager. At some point, there's only so much you can do, and that's challenging. I think if you can keep raising it, but again, I would try different ways of expressing it to them. Maybe they just need a session where you're like, look, maybe they need some encouragement to know they're not being criticized. Again, people always get a bit defensive when they feel like they're doing something wrong. So if you can try and approach it in a different way and be like, no, I really want this to work, give them that encouragement, and then go into it from that angle, you might see better results. It's a small shift, but it has a big impact. If that makes sense.
Well, also I try to emphasize like, hey, when we do code reviews, it's not about you as a person, it's only about code. And we spend 8 hours per day, 5 days per week, working the same code base.
Mm-hmm.
We want to ship software with the best quality, but eventually it's only about talks about to be more flexible and so on.
Absolutely. Are there any instances where that person did do it well, did do it right?
I'm sorry?
Are there any times where that person did do a good job or did do something?
Sometimes.
I would say, sometimes, okay. I'd say reinforce that as well. Be like, look, here, this was great. This we need more of. Sometimes people just need a little bit more positive encouragement. But it's a challenging situation, and it's not always a simple fix. It's something that takes time and work, I think. So yeah, patience is key.
Thank you.
But yeah, that's okay. Sure.
Hola.
Hello.
Muchas gracias. English, please. Thank you. Thank you so much for this explanation. I'd like to ask you, maybe from your experience, sometimes you have an employee or colleague, and you want to empathize, you want to like, I'm so comprehensive, I'm going to listen to you, let's talk 1 hour and a half, trying to solve the problem. And what happened to me, I had a particular person, I was super comprehensive. Do I pronounce it good? Comprehensible? Like this. So, but then finally I understand that this person, she looked at me like smiling, and then, well, it's finished bet with this person, but do you see or do you think that there is some limit? Then you are going to be like another part, like a strict part, strict boss.
Strict.
And,
Is there too
person.
nice?
Is there what, sorry?
Can you be too nice?
Can you be too
calm?
nice?
No, yeah, when you understand that, okay, now
Yeah.
It's demasiado.
It's too much. No, we need to get stuff done. Yeah, definitely. And actually, in the book, there's a whole chapter on that, because it's talking about compassion, and the idea is that it's not about always being nice. It's about doing what needs to be done and what's best for the person, and that's not always the easy choice, and it's not always hearing things that are easy. So you can definitely be too nice, definitely. So I think there's a point at which you've got to find the balance. It's hard if that person isn't so open. That's a very difficult challenge sometimes. But again, it's about patience, just trying different ways to connect with them, and just really trying to understand, like, where are their roadblocks, like why are they not responding to this thing. And I think with time you'll get there. But yeah, like you said, you can definitely be too nice, and it's okay to just say, like, look, this needs to happen now. So yeah, I hope that helps. Yeah. Sometimes it's necessary, It's not always going to work out.
Thank you.
That's okay. Thank you. Okay. Yeah.
You mentioned
mentioned that you were a front-end engineer before.
Yes.
But were you ever a manager? I'm asking mainly to find out what your inspiration was to start this.
It's a really good question. No, I never managed a team. I wasn't a manager. I was just a developer. But yeah, my inspiration, I would say, is that I just worked with so many managers, and I saw this, and I taught them the skills that they found helpful for management. So it was kind of like, okay, I realized that I've not got the technical ability to be a manager, but the soft skills are there, and maybe we can help each other. They helped me with the soft skill, with the hard skills, and I with the soft skills. So, and I just really liked that process. So that was the inspiration. Yeah.
Last question here.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Reiterate a bit on the previous question about like when it's too much.
Yeah.
In my experience, I worked with quite a few low performers, and the advice was always to kind of ask questions, give support, be mindful, do pair programming, etc., etc. And I tried all of that. And in all cases, in my experience, anyway, low performance either let go or they stayed there, and I kind of felt for myself, okay, I'm spending like half of my week with low performer to get this little, or I spend half of my day mentoring really like strong developers, junior developers who show potential. And for me, like I was, it's difficult and does bring results. How I should, or is there opportunity for me to change my mindset? Was I just unlucky?
It's a really good question, because yeah, getting the balance between where you spend your time, basically, where you put your energy. I think in this case, like you said, sometimes low performance, no matter what you do, they're just going to perform like that, because maybe they're not invested, and you can't always make someone invest. Sometimes it literally is just about the money for them, and they just turn up, they just do the minimum, and that's it. And you can't always change that. And I think at some point you see that in the person, and if you've tried so many different techniques and they're not engaging, there's not a lot more that you can actually do in that situation, and perhaps it is time to just think, okay, they're not the ones that I'm going to put my attention into, because they're not going to help us grow, and that's okay as well. And maybe sometimes they need to be let go. It depends, but yeah, it's not, like I said, it's not always going to work out wonderfully for everyone, and that's part of it. So yeah, I hope that helps. Okay.
Thank you again, Natalie.
Thank you very much.